Hello. Welcome to The Downside with me, Gianmarco Soresi. My co-host, Russell Daniels, is not here because he had a rehearsal for his sketch team, and I'm taking it personally because this is The Downside. But I'm excited because I don't think I don't think I need the backup conversation filler because I am joined by a comedian, stand-up comedian, writer, a very good tweeter, Mohannad Elshieky.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. Can't believe your co-host chose sketch over me.
This is The Downside.
That's fucked up, yeah.
1, 2, 3. Downside.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.
So you hear that, Russell? Fuck you. I don't know. I don't know what happened. He's pretty good.
Yeah,
and
I'm
no
sure.
no one's making money here right now. So like, it's one of these things I can't.
Yeah.
I can't be mad. I can't be like, I'm gonna
Well,
cut
I mean-
your pay.
I mean, you still got to do it for the love of the game, though.
Love of the game.
Yeah.
These podcasts, they take a long time. You
They
just
do.
started a new weekly.
Yes, I did, yeah.
You digging it?
I love it, yeah. I mean, we talk about apologies every week, which is, there's an unlimited resource of that. Because
Sure.
people keep fucking up. And, yeah.
What's a good who apologized the best?
So far, we really haven't, like, most recently, we haven't really found any good
Sure.
apologies. Everyone is just seems to be, I don't know what the fuck they're doing with that money
Yeah.
because they're not hiring people to write those.
I think the Kevin Spacey apology will go down as one of the greatest, the coming out apology.
We talked about that. We had like like the 9 worst apologies, and that was one of them.
What was number one?
I think Kevin Spacey maybe was number 2. I can't remember what. Number 1 was whatever that chef was.
I was about to say it.
Yes.
I forget his name, but who added a recipe at the end?
Yeah.
At the end of the email. I also think though, there's like, I know a couple people. I don't want to name, but this one person who like came up with an apology. People were like, "Bad. This is bad."
Yeah.
They took a couple days, and then they came out with a new one, and people were like, "Better." And
Yeah.
part of me is just like, yeah, they just reached out to their smarter, possibly more diverse friends and said, what is an appropriate
Exactly.
for this particular transgression?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
so what are we applauding? It's that they're resourceful, that they had a
They
better
have
writer.
friends. Yeah.
Or that they cared, I guess. They put in the effort.
It's insane. Well, I mean, some people even can like, I feel like you read the apology, I'm like, oh, you paid money for this.
Yeah.
You have a PR person because this just hits all the right spots,
Yeah.
and also had like action at the end. I'm like, I'll be doing all of these steps, and I'm like, I can't call you out on anything because this is perfect, but I know you did not write it.
Sure. I always worry because I feel like what people want is emotion.
Yeah.
And who gives a shit? I always say you can't know what's in someone's heart.
Yeah.
So you can only look towards actions. But then you have the people like, I remember famously, like Harvey Weinstein, like right when it was happening, one of the things he touted was he had given, I believe it was $2 million to the USC Women Directors Program.
Okay.
And like part of it, and I think it's one of those things where they return the money, which I hate that. I'm like, it's money. It's a material good. Take it and don't give any credit.
Exactly.
It's not dirty money.
I'll just take it.
It's not
yeah.
sticky money.
Yeah. I don't think there's a good way to apologize on the internet, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like it's impossible. Well, I mean, one thing you should do before you fuck up and have to apologize is be likable
Uh-huh.
and maybe hot.
Sure, that does not hurt at all.
Because that will just, people will just like, you know what? Points have been made.
Yeah.
We forgive you. We're gonna move on right now.
Well, I'm very curious with Alec Baldwin,
Yeah.
where like people have been talking about I've heard a lot of like he can never do comedy again. No one can. But it's all about who knows. We don't know. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know how much of the corner cutting was him to blame. But as a cynical person, I am always interested in kind of like how do you reset the public tone? Like is Alec Baldwin, and knowing him, he's probably just he can't not talk. He'll just go and
absolutely.
say interviews and we'll see what happens. But how do you reset the conversation?
I honestly, because I mean, I know obviously he didn't do it on purpose, but he still killed someone. And
Yeah.
I think that's just, I personally do not know how I would come out of that.
How did Matthew Broderick get out of it, though?
What's that?
Matthew Broderick, you know this?
Oh,
he was
yeah.
driving, I believe, in Ireland, and with someone else, and he killed someone.
But he killed someone in Ireland.
Oh, well, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, I think if you're cynically minded, you go like, that affects it. Like,
Yeah.
for some reason, that affects it,
Yeah.
and that's illegitimate. That should not affect it.
Well,
Irish
of
people
course,
are
yeah.
people too.
No, I
That's
mean,
always been our stance here at the Downside.
I believe that too. They're the only people in the UK who I like. But I think it's just because it's not in the country. They're, like, anywhere outside, like, as long as it's like further away,
They were a
people
little
will, like,
south of the border.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, we'll forgive that one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I would complain. We're filming this, recording this the day after Halloween.
Yeah.
And man, I had a rough, the gross part of this story. So I just started working at the Comedy Cellar.
Okay.
And I'm obviously very, I'm coming early to all those spots. None of these spots I'm cutting it close.
Well, yeah, of course.
If I'm doing nearby spots, it's got to be there has to be a car option. If there's no car option in an emergency, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll do walking because I can run. So I got to it 40 minutes early, and there's the parade. There's the Halloween parade.
Oh, shit.
So I'm there 40 minutes early, and I get out of the train stop, and it's definitely crowded. But again, 40 minutes early, I was going to get dinner. No, I was super early. I get out of the train. It's packed, very slow moving. And then we get into the street, and they won't let me cross. I don't know what street it is. Maybe it's a Broadway or West 7, something. But it's across the street where I need to be for the spot. And I cannot cross.
Jesus Christ.
And I start getting a little bit worried, but I have 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So then they say, one of the cops says, go up to 4th Street. So I go up to 4th Street, and the cop up there is like, you can't go here. You got to go down to Prince, which is pretty far away. And it's packed. I mean, it's packed.
Yeah.
So I still have time. I'm walking down. Every once in a while, I talk to an officer. I'm like, this is my job. My job is there. Like, first, that's my appeal. So I'm just like, I'm a job. I walk down. I get to another stop. Before they said Prince Street, something else. And then they wouldn't let me cross there. And every officer, I mean, could not be more unsympathetic, doesn't give a flying fuck that it's my job. And they're just standing there. There's so many police officers. And all of them are just like, yeah, no, you can't cross here. And I'm like, oh, is it the next street? They're like, we don't really know this area. And part of you is like, you don't know this fucking area? That would be basic homework for you're gonna guard the parade. You don't know the area.
Yeah, they're like, I live in Jersey. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's probably because most of them were probably from out of New York because there were so many. They're all working. Well, I saw one guy he was smoking a cigar. Something about that. I was just like, why don't you take the cigar out, pull out a map, and learn the area right now? So I'm getting a little later. I'm just getting more nervous because it's so crowded. I'm moving so slowly. So I start going through. I'm a little pushier. I'm surprised I didn't get punched, but I start saying, I just keep going, I have a job. I have to go to my job. I'm sorry. Job. I have a job.
Yeah.
And I keep going. It starts getting close, and I start panicking because I'm like, I've been here a week. This is like, and in my mind, I'm like, I'll never work there again. No one will understand. No one will believe me. And I have a moment of thought of like, I'll jump, but there's a lot of officers. They'll get me. And so then I start I start telling the cops like, I just got past the cellar. It's a dream. It's a dream of mine. I start appealing to their sense of dreams and artistic art and they don't, nobody. And so I finally get down all the way to Prince, and then that's the place you're going to cross, but you can't cross right away. They just hold you there. And they're like, eventually we'll let people through. And I'm like, 5 minutes eventually, like 50, because now I'm far away. I got to go cross and go all the way back up.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't know. And the captain's right there because he's in all white or whatever. And I'm like, please, can I talk to the captain? If anyone filmed it, it would look pathetic. I mean, I was begging. And like, I know there's a lot of white privilege because for a moment I was like, this is the worst thing the police have ever done. Finally, they open it, and I'm drenched in sweat. And I was able to get across. I was able to make my spot. But I really felt I really felt a real rage. I felt a real rage at the incompetence, at the like, what are you doing? Oh, and this was the other thing. So as we're waiting to cross the street, and I'm like, now I'm down to 15 minutes, and it's I can make it. They're just letting the parade go, and not even like thick parts of the parade, like light, like you could cross easily. And they always go, if I let you cross, I'll let everyone cross. I'm like, it's my job. And then they have like the seamless, half these parades are branded content.
Yeah.
So like the seamless people, like with their colorful food boxes, and they're clearly not regular seamless workers.
Yeah.
They're actors. And
Of course,
and they come over like, hey, here's a cookie. And I am so and I'm not, this will make me look poor, but I was like, just keep going, please. We don't want the cookies. I'm going to lose my job. And like people, the parade, they're so happy. There's people with big syringes. And I'm like, I'm already vaccinated. Just go. It's not funny. It's not fun. It was the first time I really felt like a very kind of the Grinch of Halloween. Like, grow the fuck up.
I know.
Is this for like someone's rights, for civil rights, for an organization, for something that matters? No,
nothing.
Then get the fuck out of the way.
It does not. I love that. That if that would have been a story that you tell, and you're like, well, that's when I realized the police is bad.
I mean, it was horrible. And of course, I know the police are fucked up beyond belief, but it was I think in that moment, I was just like witnessing the mass incompetency really up close.
Exactly. Yeah. Because like,
for
what
blocks
is it?
and blocks.
What is it that you do? You do nothing. You're literally just standing right now, and they're not helping you because they're like, well, if I help you, then what's next? Help other people.
Of course. And I'm like, yeah, I get that conflict, but like, I'll prove you on my phone right now that I work at this place. I'll show you the thing. It's my job.
I'll tweet about you, officer. Anything, please.
So it was just.
Well, was it a good set at least?
Yeah, it was the right
Okay.
kind of energy.
Okay,
I am fortunately, I am activated when I have a traumatic experience. Something about me comes on stage and I'm like, fucking A. So it was a good set.
Well, that's good.
But fucking A. I just was
fucking
so.
hate that. Yeah.
I think it's just, and you always hear the defense of like, oh, you want to defund the police? What are you going to do when and I'm like, well, this is a moment of just like chaos, and they just can't seem to do fucking anything. They can't seem to manage a fucking parade. So like, so they're going to take care of something else?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're useless. They're literally just like, yeah, we defund them, and then who's going to help you? Well, again, no one.
Yeah, same
At
thing.
least we'll use the money for something else.
I'll save money on making that. I'll save time making that call to 911.
Yeah.
Have you ever called 911?
No.
Never.
I have not, no.
Do you?
I mean, to be fair, I've never been in a situation where I felt like I needed to.
Sure.
Yeah, like not even like a small fire.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. Hopefully I'll never have to.
Sure.
Yeah. But
I had two. One, I had a roommate. I thought he was like ODing on something.
okay.
And the officers were helpful, to be fair, though like 15 came. And again, sometimes it's like when you see 8 officers hanging out at the train stop, I'm like, why are you all here?
It's
And
a
they're
hang.
catching.
It's a fucking hang.
And then like it's a hang. And then the turnstile jumper, then they're like, we got him. We got the guy. And then one time there was drilling at 3 a.m. I was younger in New York. I think I regret that call. But they called me back and they said, don't worry about it, and hung up the phone on me. And I was like, okay, useless. So that is my.
You know what I remember now? I was with someone who called 911, and it was in San Diego, because we got into an accident, and we called them, and it was on New Year's Eve, and literally the reason we called them is it was just the person who got into their vehicle to continue driving was extremely drunk. He was gonna go and kill people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we literally were like, hey, like this happened. I don't know if you can send someone or whatever. And then they were like, did anyone die? And we were like, no. I'm like, then we're not gonna come. And I was like, okay. I guess it's time to get to stabbing or something to get you guys to come here.
They're like, listen, we have to get 3 more speeding tickets tonight, or our boss is gonna be pissed. We can't focus on this shit.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, when that person kills someone, we will be there.
We'll be there.
But not now. Yeah, we don't prevent stuff from
We're just
happening.
here to outline the chalk body. That's what we do.
Exactly. We enjoy it. It's fun.
Well, I am curious. So you were born in Libya.
Yeah.
What are the cops like in Libya?
Great question. I mean, for the longest time, there were no cops at all.
No cops at all.
Yeah.
So you people who say abolish the police here.
Yeah.
Do you ever go like? Do you go? I mean, you were there for that.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in Libya, were you like, this is better?
See, because like we don't have like like it's not police, but you have like you have like traffic officers, like people like who just do that's all they do,
Just tickets and
just tickets
cross,
and shit.
don't cross.
And then everyone else is like part of the military. So it's like
I see.
So it's kind of like the police here, to be honest, because they're just
Sure.
like also like just like very violent, just holding guns and shit. But at least they're like very like straightforward about it. They're just like, we're not here for you. We're not here to protect you. This is the guy we're protecting here.
It's nice, at least some honesty.
Yeah. And if you try to fuck with him or anyone else around that, we're gonna fuck you up.
Sure.
But do not call us if you need something.
And who are they there protecting in this moment? Just a
Back then, it was the president of Libya. That was the person they were protecting. And I was just like, well, I appreciate the honesty. You know?
yeah.
At least you know that you have to deal with your own shit. So
if there's an emergency in your house, no one to call?
I mean, you gotta figure that out.
You just got figured out.
Yeah, you gotta, and you usually do, because like it's a very like tight like community. So you know everyone. You do know everyone, and like the idea that someone's gonna break into your house and steal something is not really gonna happen.
Sure, because you'd be like David.
Exactly.
David, come on, man.
Because I remember my brother, my younger brother, he had his phone stolen. And he was just like walking home, and someone like literally just like pointed like a gun or a knife at him or something and stole his phone. And I was like, okay, we'll figure something out. Then I went to where his phone got stolen. I know someone who lives there, and I just got there, and he was like, okay, follow me, and we just like just like followed him. And then there was this guy selling drugs on the corner, and we told him what happened, and he got so fucking pissed. Because someone stole someone's phone, because he's supposed to be doing that.
Wow.
Like it's like, I am the one doing crime here. This person comes to my area and does crime. Fuck this shit. I'll come get your phone with you.
So
And
he
literally got with us in my car, and we just like kept driving. He just gave us directions and stuff, and then we literally stopped in front of someone's house. He got in 5 minutes and came back with the phone.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That seems dangerous. He just goes in. They were like, oh, my bad. I said I wouldn't do it. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, what block was it? Ah, shit. I forgot.
It was insane. I was like, I'm not gonna ask any questions here.
Yeah.
I just need the phone back. Thank you, sir, for not doing crime on my brother.
I mean, frankly, I've had my phone stolen or misplaced, and it was harder to get back. That seems a lot easier than my system.
Way easier. Yeah.
I lost it on the train once, and they have a shop, I think, in Times Square of like missing items.
Oh,
and you
okay.
look at the wall, and I mean, it must be 500 phones just rubber banded together, and you're like,
how do they even know though? Like, what if I just take someone's phone?
I think you could. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sure people could get away with it.
Yeah,
But it'd be weird if you're like, I lost 30 phones. I lost that box. That box is me.
Yeah, it's just all of them. I just need them for my job. I'm just a phone guy.
So I don't know anything. You grew up where in Libya?
In Benghazi.
In Benghazi.
Yeah. Not famous for anything, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I even know very little. That was pre like me learning anything about politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure it's hard to avoid if you're living there.
Yeah.
So were your parents born in Benghazi as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone born there.
Okay. And you were born there. How many siblings do you have?
I have 4 siblings, all younger than me.
Okay, so you're the oldest.
Yeah,
okay.
I am the oldest. Yeah.
Okay. Are any of them in America?
Yeah, I have a brother who lives in San Francisco.
What is he doing?
He's an engineer. He does material
So a real job.
engineering. Yeah.
So you grew up there. I mean, what is it like there? Like, do you miss it?
I do. I mean, I miss my friends. I miss like my, my family and everything. And it's just the whole vibe. It's kind of like a weird thing. I think it feel like a Stockholm Syndrome kind of thing. It's kind of like because like I feel like I had like two separate lives there. Like I had a life because before 2011 there was like we had like a president who was the president for like 42 years.
Okay.
Yeah, which is very long.
When you first grew up, did you admire him? Was he admired, or was he always like,
no,
this is a bad force in the world?
Honestly, I had absolutely zero feelings because we never talked about him.
Really?
Yeah, even at the house, we were just like, nope, we're not going to talk about him. Because if you say something and then you repeat it back in school or something, that's a problem.
It's a problem with who? Like, would it get back to the authorities if at
absolutely.
school?
Yeah.
Even if you were like a little kid, they'd be like, "This kid's parents."
They do not give a fuck. Yeah, they do not give a fuck. It was just like it was insane. It was a police state.
Did you ever have a moment where your parents are putting you to bed and they're like, "Just so you know, you can't say anything, but this is really bad."
No, absolutely. You know what? Literally, the only reason I hated that man was because I remember growing up, we had this like, cable television kind of thing. And whenever it was sponsored by the government, and whenever the president had like a speech, they would cut all 20 channels and air his speech. And sometimes it will get in the middle of a cartoon I'm watching. And I'm like, fuck this guy.
So he wasn't even doing the speech at like the 30-minute mark. He was just like, whenever.
Yeah. It's literally whenever. It can go for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5. It doesn't, because it's improv. Like nothing is written. He just has talking points.
Did he have charisma? Was he like a Trump-like charisma?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's insanely like Trump. Just like the whole thing. Like it makes no sense, but it's kind of entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
And he was fucking insane.
What was his name?
Gaddafi.
Oh, forget. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm putting it all together.
Yeah.
All these pieces. It's very embarrassing. Is it ever like Americans in general? I imagine know so little. Like I know who Gaddafi is, and now I mean everything's coming together now. But like we learn at least in our primary school years very little about the rest of the world, and I imagine you know more about American history than most people know about Libyan history.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, we do learn a lot at school just in general about the world, but we do it in a different, in a weird way. Cause like basically when you grow up in a place where you grew up in, like you kind of like view the rest of the world as in just like, you have to know about as in, because like, what you're being taught is that everyone is coming after you. So you have to know, because so you can like navigate your way later. Yeah. And
who are you most? Was there a country you're most scared of growing up that they're gonna come after us?
Well, I mean, it was always the U.S. Because like I mean, the U.S. was just like has bombed Libya in the past multiple times. I wasn't alive back then. It was like
what were the big incidents?
I believe there was one in 1986. Okay, where they like literally just like blew up like somewhere like in Gaddafi's like mansion or something. Okay. And like people died. And that was like a whole thing. And then you have like sanctions after that and all of that shit. And it's very easy for you to believe that everyone is like trying to get you. Yeah.
When you were growing up, did you feel like fuck America, or was it just like everything's fucked?
I think it was like it was everything is fucked. Plus, you also think because before the internet and social media like became like a whole thing, you just assume that everyone around the world just lives like this. So this is very normal. Like growing up, never have I been like this sucks. Yeah. Just like I mean I don't know. Life. Yeah, this is just, and then you get into like, I remember like when Facebook and social media like really became a thing, you're like, what the fuck, man? Yeah. No one lives like this. And I was just like,
do you remember seeing anything in particular where you were like, oh, I gotta get out of here?
I remember, you know what? I remember in I don't know where in England, maybe London or something like that, there were people just protesting the prime minister there, like the government and stuff like that, just holding signs, just like yelling at the cops and stuff like that. And I was just like, you can just do that.
Sure.
And just go home. I was like, that's fucking insane to me. Because like growing up, like even like when we got the internet, there were like some stuff you're not even supposed to get into.
Like what?
Like, let's say like someone uploaded something about Gaddafi on YouTube or something, like Gaddafi's crimes or whatever, or like something about him, and you were like under the impression if you go and look that up, they will find out.
Sure. And were they like tracking things down, or were they not advanced in that way yet?
I think the reason we thought that because like they were advanced in every other way. Like they were listening to your phone calls. And you know that because they tell you they're listening to your phone calls.
They would say that. They say, we might be listening to your phone calls.
No, we are listening to your phone calls. So do your thing, but, don't talk about the government. Don't do any of that shit. And it's just, that's what I liked about them, at least. They were very straightforward with shit. And they're like, yeah, we're listening. And, just do your stuff. Talk shit about other people, but not us.
Were there some people who loved Gaddafi, like in your peer group?
Absolutely.
But did you know just in a deeper way that your family was not big fans?
Eventually I did, yes, because I remember I have my mom's cousin, my mom's first cousin, have sometime in like 2010 or something returned back to Libya, and I never knew that man existed. Like I knew everyone around, I knew his brother, sister, but no one has ever talked about him.
Wow.
Because back then, when he was, he was in his like 18, he was like anti-Gaddafi, and then he had to leave the country, and because like you can't even talk on the phone, like we just never knew that he existed.
Yeah.
Until he came back one day, and I was just like, well, that sounds fucked up. That sounds very fucked up.
And so Gaddafi was killed when?
He was killed in 2011.
And were you here yet? No.
No, I only came here in 2014.
2014.
So, yes, I was there for the whole thing. I mean, not him being killed, but
yeah. I saw you in the video.
I was like, I was there, just hanging, just making content.
I'm here live at the Gaddafi killing. Oh my god!
But no, I was there for the whole thing. So that's why I was saying like that. Like I had two separate lives. So before Gaddafi, and then 2011. That's when the revolution happened in Libya and everything. And most of it was truly because of social media. Because I feel like everyone my age had the same realization.
Yeah.
Of just like this shit is fucked up. At the same time,
do you think like it was because now you write, you satire and critique the government, and like, did you feel when you were younger that you had that edge and it was just like released one day? Did you ever make an off-color joke and someone's like, you shouldn't make that joke?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, all the time, and it's just like and then you have people like. And I mean, my parents were like had the right to be worried and who to talk to and everything, because like the government literally had spies everywhere. Like you take a taxi, the taxi driver might be someone who works for the government. So you can never trust who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So when I do things like this, I remember my dad is just being like, just please shut the fuck up.
Once he was killed, did you guys ever talk about it? Like, hey, that was crazy.
Well,
that
I mean,
sucked.
It truly only took a day or two into like the whole like uprising and everything for people just like to literally just be like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
This is so bad. And I remember like the first 4 days I spent it like just like researching as much as possible on the internet, just like going watching YouTube videos and shit. I'm like, this is so fucked up. Because you find so much about him and you're like, I didn't even know half this shit. This man is a criminal.
Yeah.
And then you had this you had like that period of 8 months where it was just like him still being alive. You have have like Western intervention, people coming in, and like so much shit happening, and you're like in the middle of it.
Were you scared for your life at any point?
No, I was not. It was all very extremely exciting for me at the time, because I was like 20 and it was just like, this is the best time of my life.
Yeah.
Like I like you see people on the streets, you see people like breaking into places, and like I fucking love this. And then at some point I was one of the few people who like spoke English like fluently back then to like be able to like do translation work and all of that. So I worked with a lot of journalists who came to Libya.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and like the translation work and like and I also used to take them to the front lines to just so they can like do their reporting and stuff. And that was very fun and very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because like now I think about most of this shit now, I'm like, that was very stupid. Like I could have gotten myself killed at any point. But back then I'm just like, this is so fucking cool. This is the best, like.
Were you getting paid for this work too?
Oh, absolutely.
So you're making money, you were working, you were in the heart of history.
Exactly. I was doing everything. And I was doing a lot of like also like other media stuff. Like I was hosting a radio show at the time, and I was just like living my life, and it was not, it wasn't easy because like you're literally just like, the government is still in charge. They're just not as in charge as they were.
Yeah.
So you have like, like they know who you are. Like, cause like the idea was if this doesn't go well, we're fucked.
Sure.
If they come back and take power again, it's over. It's the end.
Yeah.
Cause we really went for it.
Uh-huh.
And there's no coming back from this. So you really have to commit to the bit at that point.
Does it inform you? Does it change the way you look at like January 6th? Like having seen, a group beat the government essentially. Yeah. Does it change? Do you look at it and think it's not as big a deal as everyone's making it to be?
You know what? Yes, because I remember, like at my job, we're just like all like watching it. Like we're just like watching the news, and everyone we're just like paying attention to it, and we're like, like we're not trying to make jokes today and stuff like that. Like let's keep it off on social media and stuff. And I get it, I understand. You don't want to like come off as like insensitive. But I remember I'm just like watching what's happening and like the news talking about it. I'm like, this shit is cute.
Yeah.
Like this is nothing really.
Yeah, like, he took a shit on Nancy Pelosi's desk, and you're like, pretty okay, a little bit funny.
Yeah, it's
a little bit funny.
It's funny. I obviously don't support it, but I'm just like the way they talk about it now, and they like you just will not shut up about it as like the most traumatic thing that happened to them. I'm just like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I don't know, man.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it's just like America. We're just like, we're so, it's the same way where if there's any terrorist attack and 2 people die, it's still like, because we're just like, this doesn't happen here. And those visuals, I just remember, my girlfriend being like, you hear there's some people that went to the Capitol. And then I remember just seeing when you really saw the people on the steps or whatever. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I've never seen this in my life.
To be honest, it was more insane than I thought it was at first when it was happening. Like when I was watching the videos and stuff, I was like, okay, this was worse than I expected. But then you compare it to something else. But I also have to keep in mind that, like everything has to be viewed within context.
Sure.
Because in the context of the U.S., this is a big deal.
And a lot of us like went there as kindergartners, or like I grew up in D.C., so I've been at different times, but like people have been there. Like an enormous amount of America has been in that place, and it's like, what is this?
So I get it. Like you visualize, like what if I was there and they are there now, and they're like, smashing things or doing whatever. But yeah, I was just like, that would have been a day for me in Libya. I was like, here we go. That's another day. That's life.
What kind of comedy was there when you were a kid? Were you getting any American stuff, British stuff? Did they have Libyan
So, to be honest, like pop culture wise on like TV and everything, I feel like we literally had everything because like
I'm surprised the government would let everything.
But that's the thing, because like when I watch something, like I'm just trying to think of a show now. Like I watch a lot of sitcoms and like movies and stuff, but when you watch it, you come at it from the thing where it's just like it's acting.
Yeah,
none of this is real though. They can't do this in real life. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really change. It's like watching you watch a cartoon or something. Yeah, none of this is real. Yeah, it's all like make believe, and this is. But then, so it didn't really like make me think like, oh, we're living in a different.
Well,
universe.
I always think about it I tried making a bit. I couldn't quite get it. Where in North Korea,
Yeah.
there's a organization that really is dedicated to smuggling in USB drives
Yeah.
with soap operas and episodes of Friends. Like something about at least that particular area is so, I mean, I guess in theory, is so oppressed that seeing Friends. The
Yeah.
joke I was trying is that like you got to be at a pretty shitty place if you see Ross and Rachel and you're like, we got to march. like their apartment is fucking huge.
Exactly.
And it's just, I'm always curious kind of how much does that pop culture stuff make people change the way people think or make them think differently. But it sounds, what were the shows you were watching?
Oh, I've watched, definitely watched Friends, watched
Friends.
Seinfeld, watched
Seinfeld.
like every like sitcom that was on the Disney Channel. I've watched that. Like every movie you can like think of. It's just and that's the thing. Like even like when I talk to my girlfriend now about like stuff I watch, like a lot of the stuff I've watched she has not watched at all. And I'm like, I guess I just spend too much time in front of the TV because I know a lot.
Well, it's good. At least it's your profession. But
Yeah,
did all of
exactly.
Seinfeld did any of Seinfeld like make sense? Was there ever like, why are they complaining about fat in the yogurt? Like, oh,
Well, you
what fucking whiny assholes.
exactly. You're like, well, I guess that's how they live. Just like whatever, man. But yeah, I mean, but it didn't really change anything about like how I thought like other people lived. Because like still you are in the mindset of like I am living a normal life.
Yeah.
And you want to like hold to that like so much that you refuse to believe that this is not normal, this is not okay.
Yeah.
But then like I feel like there was the period between 2011 to 2014 when shit was just like bad, and you're like, this is bad.
Did you ever feel? Because I'm always curious. Because like America, I really did feel like I was taught America's the greatest country in the world,
Yeah.
and like that. It's even more than like there's propaganda, of course, about like foreign intervention, but there's like a deeper emotional propaganda that's really hard to kind of and I'm sure I still have it. I'm sure it's like a part of my subconscious that America's the greatest country in the world. And like, did it feel like that was part of your upbringing in Libya, that Libya is the greatest country in the world?
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like even the history that you study just all paints Libya in the best way possible, and we're just like, we're doing great things, and that's why everyone is upset at us, because we're fucking killing it.
I just wonder what it's like in like Denmark. Like America's so big, like something about America being big too, it felt like, well, this makes sense.
Yeah.
We're all so big, but like if you're like a tiny little country just being like,
Well, I guess that's the other thing, because like Libya as well is like probably the third biggest country in Africa, so it's massive as well compared to other places that you would go to in Africa. And you also only have like 5 million people who live there. So it's just like you have all of this space. So it feels way bigger than it is actually.
yeah,
And you have like all of that oil and stuff like that. And it just feels like you're in control. And to be fair, Gaddafi, that's how he got away with more of a lot of the stuff he did. He had so much money and power and like oil that he can just call the shots. So at some point you're like, yeah, we're fucking shit up. We're doing great. Yeah, even the U.S. can't fuck with us, which is obviously not true. But because he tells you that, and the thing is like even like Obama and like everyone was like very nice to him because like he had like oil and stuff like that. But then he took it like too far. And even like the U.S. was just like, we can't really, bro. Like you're killing people on camera. Like it's being videotaped. Like we have to do something now because everyone saw the shit you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it was in the like in
I
the
do wonder
background.
when politicians at that level have their private phone calls, if there is a bit of like, bro, you gotta stop this, dude.
I mean,
You can't film it, man.
I mean, they've released a lot of that because like they had like I think there was like a whole like a fucking like a scandal with like the prime minister of like England or something like that, just calling Gaddafi and be like, hey man, yeah, you can't do this. Like everyone is seeing what you're doing. Can we do something about this where you can just keep it in the background?
Yeah. Can you keep that YouTube video unlisted
Exactly.
just for a couple of years?
You stop saying this shit. And he lost. I mean, I get it in a way because like I can't imagine being a president of a place for 42 years. Everyone is doing exactly what I'm telling them to do, and then one day you have like 2 million people like fuck you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what do you mean fuck me? I'm just gonna kill people, and then you kill people, and then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and you're like, I don't know what to do. This is the first time I had to deal with this.
I think that's still. This might be corny because it's overdone, but the quote, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. I feel like that's just one of the truest. Just like one. It's what I always think about every time. And I think like about if I ever get the kind of success that I want, I'm like, and I will be corrupted. It's just also believing. It's not just that be careful. It's that you will. It's impossible not to be.
It is. It literally is just I mean I worry about that too, because it's just like. You're like, I don't know what I would do in a situation like this, because like you would become a different person. Like it's not me now. It will not be me. It's not gonna be the same idea, same brain, same everything. So I'm just trying, hoping to always be a good person. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if I get that much power to the point I'm controlling other people's lives through comedy.
I think life is. My theory is it's keeping people around you who challenge you constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about, there's been so much talk about Chappelle, and there's just a part of me that's like, there just must not be anyone in his life right now that's close to him going, bro, this is trash.
Dude, he's just surrounded by yes men. That's it.
And he's employing them, and like, but I know that feeling when someone really challenges me on something, and I'm like mad.
No,
and it's
I
like,
get
can you not like kick them off the tour when you're mad at them? Like, do you have the strength within you to?
Exactly.
It's tough.
No, I get it. I mean, that Chappelle thing is getting really boring now. Like at a point, I'm just like, bro, shut the fuck up.
The recent clip he released, that one was like, I was like, what? What is this?
Yeah, you promised that on the special you were gonna stop talking about it.
You promised you'd take a break, and you didn't even take a day.
Exactly. It was a week ago. We all saw it, and you're still talking about it. And like I said this multiple times, but I'm just like, content aside, harm aside, it's just not funny.
Well, I feel a real frustration, and I was thinking about it. Another review I saw of a comedy special where I think sometimes critics. They never consider that a comedy special is just like underdone or lazy or just not good jokes. They always think of it like, oh, this is what was intended. This was something crafted, or they'll be like, yeah, they intentionally kept this set like loose and free flowing. And I'm like, no, they did not do the work to make it good. Because
they haven't seen sets like this at open mics and shit.
Of course.
And just like, I'm like, no, this is bad comedy.
They only watch finished products. Exactly.
I'm like, this man is riffing, clearly. He's just like thinking about stuff and just saying them. You can tell there's no set list there. It's just, I'm sure they had to edit stuff out because it was just incoherent and made no sense.
Those COVID jokes were lazy. And then it's just like, I was just in Austin, Texas, and there are plenty of good comics. And I don't want to paint the whole town of Austin, Texas.
Yeah, no, I've been there.
But I was saying, go do a show there. And when you've seen 3 comics in a row, cis comics in a row, talk about trans issues, using jokes that are just flipping genders in the middle of the thing or whatever, you'll go like, oh, this is done. But you don't see, they don't see that level. Critics see the highest level. And so they go like, ooh, he's going places. Everyone is going at lower levels.
When he did the thing where he said the LGBTQRSA, and I'm just like, dude, this was an open mic joke from like 20 years ago probably. That maybe made sense everyone was like, oh yeah, more letters. That's funny.
Yeah.
And then this dude on a comedy special that is being paid million for to do was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Especially, but when you're that big, you have so many fans. You have so many fans where like this is the only stand up they're seeing that year, maybe.
Yeah.
So like it's not hacked to them. Like it's hacked to people who watch even 10 specials a year, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah.
But your fan base is so big, you're dealing with people who don't even watch stand up.
See, that's my thing though, because you have people who don't watch stand up, and I get that, but like you have a lot of people who are like claim themselves as comedy fans or like hardcore comedy fans. I'm like, you do not watch comedy. You watch the same 4 people, and you just watch all of their specials.
Yeah.
And that's it. But you literally you don't know the local scene. You don't know other comics. You have no idea what's happening.
You don't even know the second tier, like,
yeah.
If you don't know who Gary Goldman is, if you don't know who Maria Bamford is.
Exactly.
I remember I once did for Caroline's Comedy Club, I did some man on the street type thing. And like the number of people, it's Kevin Hart is all they know.
Dude, yeah.
Kevin Hart is all they know.
That's all the comedy
Kevin
they
Hart
know.
is the only comic they know.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I get it. I mean, that's what it's been shown to you. And it's just, these people are like, and it's so wild to me that you get big to a point where like you just don't write anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just,
Or it's just like it's kind of, like, because I'm sure they have writers, or like they, I hear people, they do their things, they riff on stage, people write it down, they isolate it, but it doesn't make up for the real thing, and it's just like the.
And the thing is, like, if you're like I want to say what I want to say and whatever I want to joke about, whatever I want, like that's one thing. But what frustrates me is the belief that these people are actually like changing things. They're like appealing to the masses. They're like, there's a cultural shift happening. Yeah. Because of what they're doing, and it's just like, no, they're not.
Yeah, like especially with Chappelle, like what's the cultural shift? People are less accepting of trans people in America. Yeah. Is that the shift that had? That's. I mean, it was bad. It was bad before.
Yeah, I'm like,
you're agreeing with the majority of people.
Exactly, and like you just have people who like, and like at what point do you like go back and be like, who are the people who like me, and see the people who like, if Ben Shapiro was just like fucking love Mohannad Elshieky and his jokes and be like, I am doing something really bad right now.
Sure.
And
once in a while, I think it's so, sometimes you say something funny that'll appeal to the worst person on earth.
Absolutely.
But if overall you're not like, I think about it all the time. I think about, and I still don't feel like I'm at a place where I'm like, my fan base, I know what my fan base is. But I know for sure that if I had like a fan base that was like all white dudes, that's not what I want. Then I feel like I'm not like, I have failed in a way.
Well, I get what I mean. I mean, it's the fan, but also I guess the people who like really defend you and your ideas.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because like if Ben Shapiro like likes a joke that you said, that's one thing. Sometimes you tell a joke that is really like have no, it goes to like no, not right or left. It's just a fun joke.
Sure.
So anyone would like it. But if Ben Shapiro is just like fights for your right to perform and is like, stop, get off this, man. I'm like, I am doing something so bad right now, so unethical. Because this man doesn't like comedy. He just like the fucked up shit I'm doing.
That's what's so funny is like all of these conservative papers, once Chappelle's special came out, all of a sudden they were reviewing comedy specials. They're like, this is the greatest. We've never talked about comedy before, but this is funny. Yeah. We all laughed.
And they read that and they're like, yeah, I guess I'm being and obviously they go with the whole like crusade and cancel culture and like they're coming after you, they're trying to end you and all of that shit. And it's just like, I mean, to go back to the point about just like living in Libya and doing all of that shit and whatnot, it's really pathetic to me. It's such like when someone is just like talks about like how they're like being canceled and they're like people are just coming after them and their life and shit like that, and I'm just like, this is some of the weakest shit ever to me, because I'm just like,
because did you know in Libya people who were actually canceled, people who were
dude, I mean not to make this podcast, like I know people who like were killed for the stuff that they've said. I've
personally
like I've had my car shot at twice because of shit I said on the radio, like people I worked with and stuff like that.
Oh my God! Tell me one of these times you were in your car. Were you in the car at the time?
Yeah. Well, one time I was in my car driving to. I was in college back then. I was like literally driving to college, and just a bullet just goes in the window, just like literally just hits the seat next to me.
Wait, it goes to the front window.
Yeah,
and it hits this seat.
Yeah, it was just like and I literally thought it was like it was like it's a rock or something.
Yeah,
and I was just like. I did not think much of it until I got like parked, and then I was just like, holy shit. There's just a bullet sitting right there.
Did it shatter the window, or was it just like a little hole?
It kind of I honestly I don't really know much about how bullets work in guns and shit like that. It was just like a very small thing, and then obviously cracked everything around it and shit like that. But then it all broke down,
How scared were you?
I was scared then. I was just like, this is insane.
Dude, were you scared to get back in the car? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to do then, and it happened again like a few months after. Like, but that was from the back. I was not in the car. I remember I went to the Nike store. There's a Nike store there that I went to. And after I came back, I closed my door. Like, I opened the door, then I was just like, I thought I forgot something or whatever. Just closed it. And then the glass, like, I don't know what they call it, the back window.
pane.
Yeah. They just, like, it all fell. And I was just like, oh, like, is someone, like, threw a rock at it or something? And that was like, I literally found like 3 bullets in the car, and I was just like, this shit is fucked up.
I don't know how did you have any thought of like, maybe I should stop the radio or I'm gonna die?
Well, that was after after I was done with the radio. It was mostly because of the people I was like, because I was working with a lot of like journalists and
right,
people like that. People like who are like mostly, when I say journalists, like, were like mostly like U.S. journalists and stuff. And there was a whole like, I want to call it stigma, or a vibe that a lot of these people were just like CIA agents and shit. And some of them were.
Sure.
Some of them were. Some of them were just like, yeah, you're too fluent in Arabic. I'm not comfortable.
Really? That's how you could tell?
Yeah. I'm just like, come on. There's no fucking like a CNN journalist or whatever who speaks Arabic fluently. You're trying to get something. You're trying to befriend me. And I don't like that. So, you work with these people, and then so when you work with them, like, and you know them personally, they're like, okay, you also work for the government.
Yeah.
And then you're like, for like a foreign government, not your government.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can say to change their minds, because you're like, well, no, I don't. They're like, well, that's, yeah.
Sure.
What else are you going to say? Why do you hang out with these people? They like you. They seem to hang out with you a lot. And I'm just like, yeah, because I talk English fluently and you do not.
And did you feel like when you were doing that stuff with whether government or not, did you feel like you were translating? Did you feel like you were doing a good deed? You were setting the story. You were helping translate the story so the rest of the world knew what happened?
Absolutely. I mean, I believed in the work I did because at the time there was a time where like no one who was interested in knowing what was happening in Libya was getting news or getting actual like facts and stuff like that. So I mean that's what I wanted to do, and the reason I wanted to do the job because like you have people who speak English but like not really well, so like a lot of get lost in the translation. And you end up with like, being like, there's a wrong picture being painted. So I was like, I'm trying to get to the bottom of like the what is what, and that's it.
Was there any like big, at least how with America specifically or anywhere, where you felt like the story was painted incorrectly?
I mean, yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, like you sometimes like you watch the news about stuff that is happening in your own neighborhood, and you're like, well, I'm here, none of this is happening.
Sure.
Like. Because I remember, like, they were just, and a lot of it is just, like, it's not propaganda. It's just, like, exciting. When you hear about, like, a whole neighborhood being, like, bombed or something, and you're like, well, I live here, and I would have heard it. It happens, and we're not saying it doesn't happen, but not right at this moment.
Yeah.
It's not happening. You're just making shit up because I guess it's a slow news day.
Now, what was the last time you were in Libya?
It was 2014, so it was like 8 years now. Yeah.
Do you ever want to, is there comedy there now? Any stand-up in Libya?
There is actually. Yeah, people are like getting into it, doing stand-up and stuff, and it's exciting. I don't think I see myself doing comedy there ever.
Why?
I'm just used to doing comedy. It's a different vibe, like, because like the, before there was stand-up in Libya, there was comedy, but it was mostly theater. So it was just like a lot of plays and stuff, comedic plays and a lot of that. So there's this whole like thing to do, like it feels like a lot of like monologue-y kind of.
Yeah. A
lot of like storytelling, funny stories, but the whole like setup punchline thing is not really a thing.
I always wonder if like it evolves there eventually where people get better or they there's something obviously addicting about like when you hit a really big pop, you get a big laugh, and like an evolution towards the most laughs kind of takes over.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you could set that tone. You could speed up evolution, go down there, show some setup punchlines,
no, exactly.
and they go, holy shit. Because especially, it's like you do a storytelling show as a stand-up comic, and sometimes if it's not a great storytelling show, you can feel the room go, there's a new level of laughter that wasn't being unlocked before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I watched because South Korea opened stand up like super early during the pandemic, like way, because they were just taking care of COVID a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up watching, like, they have I think it's called South Korea Saturday Night Live or SNL Korea. It's a clunky title. But I watched, like, the star from that, his Netflix special.
Yeah.
And I mean, man, it was just god awful from my standards of stand up.
Yeah.
But because it's so new, but it was just like it was like an open mic hour for a sold out crowd.
Dude,
it blew my mind.
I truly think the most American thing about me is that I do not believe good stand up comedy exists outside of the US.
Ooh. even England.
I'm not really into it.
I was watching some Jimmy Carr today, and I went, he really writes a shitload of jokes.
He does. I mean, I'm not saying it's just all bad. I'm sure there are like good comedians there who are like killing it and all of that. But I mean, the thing is, like, most of these people who do well in even the UK end up moving here,
sure,
to make it. I guess when I say there isn't a good comedy outside of the US, not content wise, not all of that, but like, in order to make it in stand up comedy, to actually like be the thing, you have to be here.
I mean, it's similar to how I feel about New York, more specifically, where like it's tough to get the kind of time you can here. So basically, what you're saying is you agree with Chappelle that Hannah Gadsby is not funny.
I do think Australians are funny.
Isn't she? Is she Australian? I thought
She's
she was
like,
New Zealand.
I mean, I know she's like from a place called it was like Tasmania. Or something.
Tasmania. That's Australia.
So yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah. I'm sure whatever happens on the island of Australia, I'm sure she's very funny. And that's the only. You know what? That's the only person funny from Australia, unless you remind me of someone else.
Sure. There's some music guy. I forget his name. But
what is the name of the other guy? Jim Jeffries, is he also Australian?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if he's New Zealand. I think he's Australian.
No, he's Australian.
He's Australian.
Yeah, he's Australian. And I'm not saying I like his comedy, but I mean he's big.
He has some good stuff. His gun control bit was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I haven't really seen anything after that, really. Like, and I'm not saying like, he hasn't been good after that. I just haven't continued to watch his work after.
So you moved to Portland.
I moved to Portland. Yeah.
Were you excited to come here?
Well, the thing is, like, I honestly did not know that even Oregon existed before I moved there.
Of course.
Yeah.
I did not know Gaddafi's name, so no judgment from me.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I mean, I came there on like through like a college program, so I didn't really pick Portland. It was like something I researched. I'm like, I want to go there. I was excited for sure, because like once you're gonna be there, you look up the city and the places and stuff like that, and you're like, this is really cool. And I do like, to this day, I still like Portland as a city, despite everyone who lives there.
Yeah.
But I was very excited. Like the first 6 weeks were just like great because like you're still in the program, you're still like you're being taken care of.
Any big culture shocks? Anything you couldn't, or did you kind of? Was it like because you had seen so much of American media?
Exactly.
I recently had, I'd never seen shows at the Comedy Cellar, but I'd seen the Village Underground on TV so much. I'd never been there. And then going there, it is very surreal when you go to a place you've seen. The same with seeing a celebrity in real life, where part of you just like, you just want to be like, whoa, look, it's here now.
I know. No, I totally get what I guess the cultural shock I had with Portland was not because I was in the U.S. really. It was because it did not look anything like New York or L.A. because that's the only thing you see on TV. And you're like, this doesn't look like the U.S. at all to me.
Yeah.
It's very green. It's just like, you don't have the high buildings, just like every house is like, 1-2 floors and that's it.
Yeah.
So it kind of like looked very like strange to me.
Yeah.
But I guess the cultural shock or like having to kind of like really like being like, this is not as good as I thought was eventually like I had to stay in the U.S., and it was not really my choice. Like I said, like I've done so much work back in Libya that got me in so much like shit.
Yeah.
That it got to a point where just like you can't go back.
So you realized that When?
While I was out, like maybe like the fourth week, I was. In
How
the
did you
program or
realize that?
something.
What changed?
So I mean, things gotten like worse than they were when I was there, and then there were no more access to any of the airports there, so you can't even like fly back.
Yeah.
And because I was, like there was this whole thing about me before that I was working undercover with like the U.S. government, and then now I am in the U.S. on a Department of State funded program.
And when you say, are these rumors on blogs? Is the government concerned?
No, it's not. So, I mean, it wasn't really a government back then. It was like a lot of, like you have like these like militias that just like control like parts of the government and everything. They kind of took over. So they have access to all the information. So if I go to the U.S. Embassy and I apply and they know. So they know where you are. They know like your whereabouts. They know that you're in the U.S. And as someone who's from Libya, especially back then, it's very hard to get a visa and to go to the U.S.
Yeah.
So because I got accepted in this program, it was like very quick. It was like, it was like 2 days and I got it because, they've already done the background check and everything. It was, quick. And then they were like, this doesn't seem right to us. Like this guy definitely works for the U.S. government.
And you just heard word? Did your parents say, hey, someone scary knocked at the door?
Well, they did twice. They came to our house twice, searched my room and everything, and like they went through my papers and stuff like that. And then my parents and this is the first time this ever happened. So my parents were just like, man, I don't know what's the solution now because I don't think you should come back. And I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Did that hurt?
I mean, it hurt not in a way. I'm just like them saying that because like they're just worried about me.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, what is the process for something like this?
Yeah.
Because now, now you hear about the word asylum a lot and everything. Back then, even I did not know what that meant.
Yeah.
And then, I talked to like some people I knew there, like that I met through the program, or like. And I was just like, what can I do? And one of them was like, I know a good like immigration lawyer. Like, let's go talk to them and figure something out. And then that's when I applied for like a political asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2014. And then, after that, like once you apply, you're like, okay, you're going to stay here until you do your interview, you do your paperwork, and you don't have to leave. But then that's when I was like, now you have to find a job.
Yeah.
You have to find
how much money did all that cost, all said and done? Lawyer?
Dude, it was a lot. It was thousands and thousands of dollars. It was, and luckily I had, because, I had money back home, so I had like transferred, but I burned into it like really quick.
Of course.
Of
course.
And then you're like, well, I fucking have to get a job now. And the thing is like, like your first like 7 or 8 months, you're waiting for something called a work permit.
Yeah.
So you cannot work legally.
Okay.
So they try to make it as tough as possible for you to want to stay here. So the first 8 months you have to figure something out. So you work under the table. You just like.
What was the first job?
Well, one thing I did, I knew a lot of college students who were there like to study English. So I was like doing like a lot of like tutoring and stuff like that.
That's great.
So I was like making money through that. I also worked at this fucking food cart, like a they just like really paid me like shit because they're just like, what are you gonna do, complain?
Of course.
To who? And I worked there until like I got my work permit one day, and I was just like, I just quit on the spot. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You piece of shit.
And you had gone to med school in Libya?
I did, yeah. I did for like 3 or 4 years, yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Then when you came to the program in Portland, what were you studying then?
I studied business. I went to business school because it was just like, and literally the reason I went to business school, I was just like, I remember I went to a college advisor. I was like, what is the quickest way to get a degree? And he was like, you should do this new program called supply chain management in business school. And to this day, I have no idea what that means. But it was a quick way out of college.
Did you feel any bitterness? I went to college for musical theater,
Yeah.
and there are some times when I am feeling depressed, I'm like, I can't believe I spent 4 years studying that.
Dude, I should never have gone to college. Like, I literally do nothing with it now.
Yeah.
But
people, I think of some of my siblings, and I'm like, no, college was good for them. And then I think like someone like me, who I feel like I knew what I wanted to do, kind of, and I had the drive to keep doing it. I'm like, I shouldn't have gone to college. Like, there's certain people that I don't think need it, and certain businesses where it's like you just need to start hitting the ground running.
Absolutely. I mean, at first, before I started doing comedy, because I was like, I was just like, I'm just gonna get a college degree, and then I'm just gonna like, get into whatever position this degree can get me. But then, like maybe like 2 years in, that's when I started doing comedy. I started like really liking it, and you're like, why am I still going to college? Like I can just leave right now.
So did you not get your degree?
No, I did.
I
did finish because luckily I had a lot of like my credits like transferred and stuff like that from my time.
Okay,
so
good.
I didn't have to do a lot. It was just like I had like a year left or something. Like, I'll just do that.
And when you start doing comedy, was there any part in you that was like, this is a terrible choice? You don't have your family's not here to like help you out.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you can go back to Libya right now. This is a crazy thing to do. Or were you like, I'm gonna make it and I'm smart and I will figure it out?
It was, I mean, it was neither really. It was, but I did really enjoy it because like it was one of the only times because like like you're in a new place. You're still like having a hard time like communicating with people, like finding yourself.
Yeah.
And even like when I had like friends and stuff like that, it's very hard for you to really communicate what you want to say. There's always like someone who just like, you still like, I mean, for me, like you still feel like this like outsider vibe.
Yeah.
That you can't weigh in, or like no one wants to hear from you. And I feel like comedy was the first time I was like, oh, people actually care about what I say.
Sure.
And they like it. And they think it's smart or funny or whatever. So for me, personally, it just like gave me so much confidence to like, even like outside of comedy, to just be like, no, this is what I think and I want to say it. Instead of just being like, I don't know if I should say this. I'm just going to keep it to myself.
So how do you feel? You do a lot of political comedy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, I sometimes feel like a lot of satire, of political satire, is, I don't know if I'd call it soft, or I don't know if I'd call it like sometimes it feels like it's all just fluff. It's all like none of it.
It is,
None of it shocks. None of it like really shakes things up or feels like, I don't know, like, and of course there's plenty of exceptions. I haven't watched Samantha Bee in a long time, but like, John Oliver will occasionally like, when he goes after AT&T, I think he went after AT&T, and that felt good. Yeah. Compared to like, I know there was the whole thing with Jimmy Fallon and the Alexa. I don't know if you remember that. There was something where like, listen, I don't know all the details behind it, but what it looked like on his face was that John Oliver, they were doing some game with Alexa. Okay. And John Oliver was like asking Alexa about the union in Amazon and like, asking it some pointed questions. And Jimmy Fallon in that moment seemed like he was like, let's move on.
Yeah. No, I know. I get exactly what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, so having been in a place where the political upheaval feels much more visceral and feels, I think, even more connected to life, death, your future. Like, how do you think comedians are doing a good job with American politics, or what do you wish you saw more of?
I mean, some of them, yeah, for sure. But I mean, I don't know about late night shows, honestly. It just feels like whatever the network allows. Yeah. And it just doesn't feel like, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if that person who are doing these jokes really believe in everything they're saying. Sure. Or they think more of like, they want to say more. It just feels very entertainment kind of, just like, I don't know. It just feels,
aside from the people you work for, so out of that question,
of course,
who's your favorite? Who's your favorite right now?
I mean, I do like John Oliver a lot, and I still like him because it's just like I feel like you do learn something outside of even just him going hard. I'm like, I had no idea about this topic. Yeah. And there's also like this like whole thing about like like also offering solutions kind of. So there's at least something there.
Have you watched Jon Stewart's show yet?
I've watched like maybe like clips. Honestly.
It's really serious. Really is, like it really felt like the most news. Yeah. Or like 60 Minutes almost. Okay. Some of the segments felt really. There's just a part of me that I'm like, comedy entertainment, comedy education. It's all useful to a degree, but sometimes I go like, look, something's either funny or it's news, and at a certain point you can only mix the two so much before they both get weakened. The comedy isn't that funny, or the news isn't that informative or biting. I don't know. It's clearly a booming business.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I feel like the people who drive that business, a lot of them are like the same people who get the shirts that say "I'm a Biden bitch," and I'm like, I don't think that's good.
Man, I'm just gonna say, when someone like that likes one of my tweets or replies to it and really likes it, I delete it, because I was just like, this is not good. This is not the crowd I'm trying to strike
But
here.
if you continue to grow as you've had a lot of success on Twitter, it will be a wide swath of your fan base, and it'll be your decision of, are you going to say the thing? Are you going to be the one who then makes the joke about Biden doing some shit?
Dude, it's so funny to me when I have like a lot of these people like follow me for like whatever joke I said, and then I say something vaguely about Biden, and I feel like they forget why they followed me in the first place, because they're just like, "You fucking Russia, bitch! You piece of shit!" And then they just unfollow me, and I'm just like, or block me or something, and I'm just like, I mean, you get what you get. I'm not sure what to tell you.
Is there on Instagram? I've had some reels that did well on Instagram, and I'll get comments sometimes like, I never followed you. Why the fuck am I following you?
Dude,
and I'm like, and they're like, did you paid for the? And I was like, I promise you followed me.
Yeah,
I promise you clicked the button at some point, and you're forgetting.
No one can make you do that.
It's such a funny phenomenon. And they're like, what did you do? And I'm like, maybe you were drunk, maybe you were high, maybe you have a problem. And this
also
is the
don't tell
sign.
me. Just unfollow me and go. Who cares?
Unfollow.
Who gives a fuck? No, but I mean, to your point, I just feel like, I feel like comedy needs to decide what it is and what it wants to be, kind of. As just like, I feel like to some extent there's just like, it's mostly people are watching it because they want to laugh and they want to see something well written and funny. So the whole thing about like comedy just like changing stuff on policy and like, no, that's what activism is for. That's why we have activists. You're not really doing that, and that's fine. You should just accept that, and that's okay.
Of course.
No one is asking. No, but then you have the other side of people who are just like, see comedy as like, not comedy, or like as news. And they ask too much of it. Like they wanted to change something. They wanted to do something. Why don't you talk about, like, why didn't you say this? I'm just like, because it's a fucking comedy show.
But it's so hard. I think about like, maybe it was Sandy Hook, the Sandy Hook shooting, where like every late night host kind of addressed it.
Yeah.
And it was one of these things where I'm like, especially in America where there's so many fucking shooting, it's like, so every time there's a tragedy in America, does the late night person need to be that front face and address it, or maybe just go off the air that night? Like, there just is a strange...
Yeah. And then the thing is, like, if you actually like want something to change, like, a monologue is not, you have to address it, obviously, I get it, but it's just like, I don't know, you make so much money, donate something.
It's just money. I mean, to me, I'm very just like, well, just give money. If that's where your heart is, just give money.
And I don't care. Show us how much money you gave and recommend that other people give money.
Or
I
ask
don't
the
care.
ad people. You're putting commercials between all this shit. Ask them to advertise for a charity from some,
Exactly. But the thing they were just like, and that's like just not late night, but like even like stand-up comedians who are just like, modern day philosopher and I'm just like, man, if you're not coming at it from the mindset, I'm like, you have to be funny first and you have to have good jokes first, I am not listening. This is bullshit. Like, you have to be funny. Like, no one's coming to a fucking TED Talk. No one cares.
I think it's funny with the Chappelle thing, because I do think it was a fair critique of plenty of liberal comics like a Hannah Gadsby at times, where they were like, this isn't stand-up.
Yeah.
But now one of their dudes is doing the same shit, and
That's
now
the
they're
thing.
not being like, where's the jokes?
Yeah.
They're like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I laughed 0 times, but inside.
Dude, I think the most insane thing about Chappelle to me is that these people pretend as if, a lot of the critique coming from people who are not fans of Chappelle. I'm like, he was probably one of the first people I've ever seen do stand-up, and I've watched all of the fucking I've watched all of the old special. I've watched all the Chappelle
I could do Killing
show,
Him Softly verbatim,
and I fucking loved it. And I'm like, that's why people care, because they expect more from him, and they know he can do better than this. That's the fucking frustrating. Like, you know, someone is funny. You know, someone can write really good jokes. They choose not to, and that's a frustrating part.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're soft and I'm like, no, I am not.
Especially
not.
me as a comedian, there's a part where I'm like, trust me, I'm a piece of shit. If a joke is funny, if the horrible joke is funny and like makes me go, oh, the construction, like I'll love it. I'll love it.
Dude, exactly.
I like some terrible human beings that are comedians.
Exactly. There are some jokes that are just like terrible, like but undeniable. It's just like even the joke is being made on, like, I can't be mad at this. This is really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are so many ways you can tell fucked up jokes, and you can like tell even jokes about trans people that are funny that everyone likes. You don't have to. The whole idea of that going at it from like the offending people thing never made sense to me, because I'm just like, when I write something, I'm like, well, do I think everyone's gonna like it? No.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But I never wrote a joke. I'm like, this is a joke to make this group of people mad.
Yeah.
And that's just not fun. That's just such a weird way to live.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to have fun. Like, I mostly just want to have a fucking good time on stage.
And I think that's where, like, it's just when there is, and this, I also think this isn't a consequence of like a lot of the political comedy shows where some people then look at like Jesselnick, who I love.
Yeah.
And who is very much like jokes. Like, you go there and it's like, clearly these are all jokes.
Yeah.
He's not trying to sway anyone's opinion on anything.
Absolutely.
But because we have all this political shows and then like the Chappelles and the Gatsby's, I think it trains dumber folks or people who never enjoy comedy that comedy is about expressing one's exact opinion or is to sway. And so then they look at Jesselnick through that lens and they go, what the fuck? And it just, I don't like it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. People are stupid. People are so fucking stupid. We're on social media so much.
Yes.
And you see people reply to stuff, and I'm like, you're replying to something I did not say.
Yeah.
These are, like, it's so wild, like, when people, like, ask you to defend positions that you did not imply you support. And you're like, well, this fucked up thing, now defend it. I'm like, but no, I do not even support it. Like, what? I didn't say that. So I get it, like, to watch something like comedy and being like, you know, not understand anything about it and just, people are dumb.
That's why when I was watching Jimmy Carr, I think in England it must be a little different because he just says everything.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all jokes, but it's still watching it. I'm like, oh, you're operating under a different set of rules.
Exactly.
Like, you're just.
But if everyone is taking it from the, like, if the general understanding that these are jokes and then everyone leaves and they're fine with one another, then that's. But here it's just like, it's, you know, like, it's just used to weaponize and attack people.
Laurie Kilmartin had something funny of just like, just go to comedy shows and you'll see usually people are just leaving happy.
100%.
Most stand-up shows, it's not like half the audience goes, what the fuck? It's just people laughed.
It's fun.
And then they left.
It's truly fun. Even when someone says something that doesn't, is fucked up, just like, well, people just forget about it and just move on.
All right, well, let's go to your...
This has gotta stop.
This has gotta stop. Did you bring one today? Did you?
I did. Yes. My one tonight is that if your friends make something or do whatever and it's not good, you should not support it. Like, we need to stop doing that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We need to stop supporting our friends when they put out work and it's not good just because they are our friends, because I am so tired of being duped into watching or reading things. Because a lot of people, like, on social, you know, we follow a lot of comedians or whatever, like, someone like makes something and like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And you see it over and over again. I'm like, I'm going to watch this. And then you watch the whole thing. I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm being gaslit right now.
There is definitely. And I feel like I've now been in stand-up for 6 years now. And I always was like, you know what? I'm going to be someone who only shares things that I really like. And then you start having more and more friends. And you start having people who helped you out one time.
Exactly.
And it gets complicated. And you start going like, well.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, I'll just share without a comment. Yeah. I won't say funniest thing ever. I'll just say, hey, this exists.
Retweet it. That's it.
Retweet. Yeah. Don't do it. This is hilarious.
Exactly. No, I the only thing I'm committed to is to not talk shit about the thing. And that, like, this is as much as I'm willing to do for you if I hate your shit. I'm not gonna talk shit about it and say it's bad. Like even privately if we're friends.
Yeah.
But I'm also not gonna be like, this is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. Even now, there's one example comes to mind. Sometimes it happens with like a performer.
Yeah.
And like every time they do a thing, people go like, this is amazing. And I'm like, this was a bad sketch that they were in.
Dude, yeah.
And you know that the people, and this is like where like, you know, people on the conservative side who think like, who will talk about woke people and whatnot. I'm like, they have a point. We go crazy for some people and we act like everything they do is the funniest thing ever. And I can just imagine someone watching and going like, they're lying. They're liars. And it's because we're just excited about something, but you don't have to say they're killing it. Find other people. You don't have, I think there's sometimes an idolization of like one person. It's like, show the funny thing of them.
Yeah.
Then show something else that's funny. I completely agree.
Dude, yeah. Yeah.
So who in specific just released something that's bad?
A lot of people have been releasing, I really cannot name one person just because there are like more than one person. But there's always this thing that happens when there's just like someone who's just it for like a bit, like some time, and then they have a good thing that they made.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, like they start like making more stuff. And you watch them like, this is not good. This is bad. Like, am I stupid? Maybe maybe I don't have a sense of humor anymore, or maybe I'm so jealous to the point where I cannot enjoy this anymore. But to me, this sucks.
And I think there's this thing, and this is like with comedians putting out too many specials. And look, I've put out, if you look at my TikToks, there's plenty of stuff that I'm like, this wasn't the best joke, but I'm just like trying to drum up. But when it comes to like full on specials, I feel like this was stand up where I criticize people for putting out lazy shit.
Yeah.
Because you want them to succeed. And if you just give them money all the time, not only are they going to just go for the cash grabs, but their agents and Netflix and every company, they're going to go, just pump it out. Because no one seems to care about the quality.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, man, I don't know. Like and sometimes someone does one bit and it goes well, and then that's it. That's it. It ends right there. And we're just like, no, we have to keep like milking this for content as much as possible. And clearly they're not good for it.
All right. Mohanad's going to tell me after this exactly who he's talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
I know there's one specific that's irking him. Let's go to one final, you better count your blessing.
Your blessing.
I'll go really quick. I'm going to Hawaii tomorrow.
Oh, fuck.
I have a friend getting married, a friend from middle school.
Okay.
It's one of these where they're not in comedy. So everyone there financially is doing like well. And so it's a big trip for me. I have a feeling, I know I'm not going to get it. I know I don't deserve it, but I kind of want to walk in and then be like, thanks for making this work with your life.
What island are you going to?
So I'm going to go to Honolulu first.
Okay.
I'm doing 2 shows.
Awesome.
Able to get a show. One's a bar show. One's at the Blue Note. And then I go to Maui for the rehearsal dinner.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to do a little show there they've asked me to do. And then the wedding. And but it's also cool because the groom, my friend from middle school, his family, they owned... It's this Japanese reality show called the Terrace House. Wait, I had it written down. It's called The Terrace House. It's some famous Japanese reality show that everyone knows about, and like I'm staying in the house. And so I'm just about to stay in like the coolest, greatest a little house in Honolulu.
Hell yeah.
And they told me they were like, do not get anything on the floor. These are very sweet. Like, I guess it's famous for its like pristine white floor.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, do not. That was like the one thing they said.
That feels like now you have to, something bad will happen. There will be blood on the floor.
Yeah. That'll be blood. I'll say it's not salsa. It was blood.
Yeah.
Do you have a blessing to close us out?
Yeah, I'm very thankful that and grateful that professional pandemic humor is like dying out now. Like emails and stuff like that. When you like send an email to someone and you say, hope all is well, whatever that means now.
Did you ever have one? Did you ever do one?
Oh no, it really just irked me from the beginning. I was just like, oh, are we gonna keep doing this? I hope this email finds you well or whatever. And I was just like, and I'm sure like they sent it and they were like, this is good.
It is funny when people, speaking as comedians, we joke all the time when people like get their moment. You know, there's still people on Zoom meetings going like, you know what I like working on Zoom? No pants.
Dude, yes. Oh my God. I'm honestly sometimes jealous of people who are just like, can take something to us extremely hacky and then like, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
You don't have to try. And
I
they
think
laugh every time.
I think what's funny with some hacky jokes though is there was a moment sometimes that they started as original. Like there were maybe not that one, but I feel like there was this last season of America is crazy. And it felt like there was at one time someone tweeted it and it was like, oh, it's kind of funny. You're talking about America like a TV show.
Yeah.
And then like immediately it just everyone, it's like, whoa. So I hear you.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug?
Yeah. I mean, my own podcast. I'm sorry, listen to it. It's about apologies, and then I'm doing 5 shows in Denver in November 18th to 20th.
Where?
At the Denver Comedy Underground.
Cool.
And then 2 shows. Come to the Denver Comedy Underground if you can. The other 2 shows, I'm sure they're the local shows will take care of them.
Good. Yeah. Check that out. I'm just been plugging my headlining DC Comedy Loft the weekend after Thanksgiving. DC Comedy Loft, that's Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving. But otherwise, whether you're listening from Libya or America, know that all governments will eventually collapse, and so will humanity. This is the downside.
1, 2, 3.